In the last couple of videos, I showed you how this course is laid out, how you can get the most out of it, and kind of set you up for the mindset you need to be in order to take this course, how much time it's going to take, and the level of commitment that you need to put in order to get the most out of this course. Now in this video, I want to be talking about the mindset that you need to be in throughout the entire course to make sure that you don't get discouraged. Like I mentioned in the previous video, learning JavaScript is really difficult, and when you watch through some of these videos and you see me code along, you're going to think, wow, this guy knows what he's doing. He's coding these things so incredibly fast. And part of that is because I've been programming JavaScript for a very long time. But really what it is because I'm recording all of these videos, editing them down to make them as concise as possible. So if I make a mistake, I just cut it out of the video, re-record it, and then I make sure it's perfect every time. So if I'm building, for example, a half-hour long project, so the project takes a half hour on the video. What really happened is I built that entire project a couple days beforehand. Before I even recorded the video, I built the entire project so I have all of the final code to look at. Then when I record the video, I have the completely finished code up on my second monitor, and I reference that as I record the video to make sure I don't make these types of mistakes, these typos, while you're watching and trying to learn from the project. Because watching me fix typos is really not that useful. There are certain sections in this course where I deliberately make mistakes or sometimes accidentally make mistakes, and then I purposely leave them in order to show you how to go through the process of fixing your own errors, because that's one of the hardest parts of programming. So that is definitely in there. But when I'm not trying to focus on that and instead I want to focus on a different concept, I cut out all mistakes. So you're not going to see me make very many mistakes. That gives people a false idea that I'm some kind of god-level programmer that never makes mistakes, but that's just not true. Every programmer makes tons and tons of mistakes. And the reason that I write out all of the code before I record a video is because let's say I make a half-hour long video, it probably took me 2 or 3 hours to write the code for that video. Because as I'm writing the code, I'm constantly making mistakes, constantly having to Google to find the answers to my mistakes, tweaking my code. Maybe I forgot a semicolon and it took me a half hour to find it. Those kinds of things happen to everyone, including me, including you, and it's not anything to be ashamed or demotivated about if it happens to you. It's super common, especially as you're starting out. You're going to make tons and tons of mistakes. And that's because as a developer, a programmer, your job is really just to fail hundreds and hundreds of times over again. Every time you have a console error, every time you have a mistake, that is okay. That's expected. Because really, all you need to do is eventually get the program working. So failing is really just a way of you being told that, hey, okay, this thing didn't quite work. Let me try something else. And there's a ton of trial and error. And as you start to learn more about programming, as you start to get that developer mindset, you make less mistakes, so there's less trial and error, but there's still going to be mistakes no matter how good you are at programming. It's just part of programming because you're problem solving, and sometimes you choose the wrong answer. That's perfectly okay. And I want to reiterate, all of the projects that I film in this course, I've already written them beforehand, so I know exactly what code to write. Also, on top of that, when I'm recording just a normal video, if I make a mistake, I just cut it out. Or if I'm recording a project video, I make a mistake, I cut it out and I re-record. And that's because I want to value your time. Your time is worth so much. And if I left in all of these mistakes that I make, this course would be 2 to 3 times as long as it is. I don't want to waste your time with that. So instead, I cut out all of these mistakes to give you the most concise, well-formatted code so that when you look at it, you're only ever seeing the correct way to do things unless I'm deliberately showing you an incorrect way to do things to help you learn from potential mistakes that you could make yourself. I actually do this a ton, especially in the beginning of the course, because as you get started, it's very easy to make common mistakes. So I'm going to show those to you. So when you're coding along on the different exercises and projects that I have you work on, and it's taking you 10, 15, 20, 30, 60 minutes, 2 hours to build out some of these projects and exercises, and then you watch the video where I do it, and it maybe only takes me 5 minutes or 10 minutes, don't get discouraged. This doesn't mean that you're slow or that you're a bad developer. It just means I already know exactly what to write because I already wrote the entire program before recording the video. And the hardest part of writing a program is the problem solving and thought process that goes into it. That takes significantly longer than me just looking at my other monitor and typing in the code for the project. So do not get discouraged. Everyone makes mistakes, including me, including you, and that is perfectly normal, especially when you're learning. And that's really all I have to say about this. In the next section of the course, I'm going to be talking all about setup, what JavaScript is, how to get your environment set up to start programming in JavaScript, so that way we can dive into learning JavaScript, and I can't wait to see you in that section.